Yeah, I think the recording has started. So let's start. So let's take a look at sample requirements. Let's take a look at the sample requirements. Starting with sign up with email. Let's do sign up with email. Now, the secret about process flows, right? The secret about process flows, like I've always said, is being able to put yourself in both a user and system perspective. That is the best way to understand process flows or to hack process flow drawing. Being able to put yourself in a user's shoe and also in the position of a system. Putting yourself in the position of system will require you looking at what sort of information, what will happen next, what should happen. So we call it system thinking and user thinking. For instance, this says sign up with email, right? Sign up with email simply means one is going to be a sign up, and sign up represents account creation. With email means the user wants to create account with email. Okay. Most times you might end up not having an acceptance criteria before you draw a process flow diagram. Now, if you have an acceptance criteria, it might be pretty easy for you. But what would always help is when you elicit requirements. And that's why I say always learn to elicit requirements. Don't just start drawing from the blues or drawing from nowhere. Eliciting requirements happens in several ways. You can elicit requirements by interviewing somebody, someone you feel is a domain subject matter expert, or someone who feel is an expert in that particular thing you want to understand, you want to model, right? A good example is this. You want to learn, you want to draw, you want to, a good example is this, sorry. You want to model clinical processes, right? Clinical processes, you want to model it. You want to draw end-to-end process that happen in the hospital. One of the best person you can interview to understand what happens in the hospital end-to-end would be a nurse, a clinical nurse, or a doctor, right? When you have an interview with that person and you ask that person, when the patient comes in, what's the first thing they will need to do? After that, what's the next thing they have to do? Okay, if this doesn't go well, what would they have to do next? What is the alternative? The best thing will be for you to ask those people to get an idea of what the process is so you can clearly draw it out and look for ways to improve or enhance. Okay? Same thing we do when drawing process flows or when writing requirements. A process flow is a requirement. We basically use it to model requirements, right? You need to have that elicitation activity, very critical. And that is what I see missing most times in most of our drawings. Elicitation could be through interviews, right? Elicitation could be through research. So there are different techniques you can use to elicit your requirements. Either through interviews, you have interviews with someone, you don't have interviews with someone who does not have a domain subject matter knowledge on that. No. You have interview with someone who have an expertise knowledge on that particular thing, on that specific thing. That is the person you have an interview with. Someone who have a domain knowledge in that specific subject matter, right? If it is a research, or should I say benchmarking, it's best to look at competitors in the market. What do they consider to be standard, right? Or how are different competitors doing this particular thing? So let me use bills payments, for instance. The major competitors in bills payments in Nigeria are Quick right? We also have Buy Power. These are like the major competitors of bills payments. Now, if you are writing a requirement on sign up with email, that means your users creating an account with their email addresses. It's best for you to look at how are my current competitors collecting or registering, allowing their users or their customers to register. What information do they collect? And what is the experience? You can do all of these things by research, right? You can research about buy power, the information they collect on this thing. One example or one of the things I do mostly is, I'm in the fintech space and I'm building a fintech product. And for me, my two major competitors are Wise. I don't know if some of you know about Wise. Wise is one of my major competitors. Another one is Revolut. Revolut is another competitor of the product I'm building. And the third one is LendFi. These are different competitors that I have, right? And others are things like Remitly, Monzo, and what have you. But for me, my three major competitors are basically Wise, Revolut, and LendFi, right? Now, when I'm trying to give my customers an experience on how they should onboard to my products, I look at these three different competitors, right? And say, what is Wise doing? What kind of information are they collecting? One way I will know is I'll say, okay, what requirements do I need to create a LendFi account? Now, you see, this is available here now. So I know this is the kind of information that I need to collect. That is one. Second as well is I have what we call domain subject matter experts in my team. So I have someone who is a compliance manager who is vast in UK compliance, right? I also have someone who is vast in financial crimes in my team. I reach out to them and ask them, what are the key requirements that needs to be collected, that we need to collect from our customers to be able to create an account for them? Same thing for Wise. I'll do all of that. I'll say, what are the requirements to open a Wise account? Oh, he's holding. Who is sending a message? Um, do you get it now? So, what are the requirements to open a Wise account? You see it how to open account step by step. And I'll say all of the requirements that Wise collects when you want to open an account with them. So I do this for all of my competitors. This is when I want to do research. I look at this, then also look at what are the best practices. So one secret to being a very good product manager or business analyst is, or should I say building a very good product, is understanding the industry and the market. And in understanding industry and market requires you identifying who your key competitors are, understanding what is standard in the industry. Then from there, once you understand what the basic information is that needs to be collected, right, you can then come up with better ways to give the experience to your customers. So this is how to open a Wise account online step by step. You register online. So this is a link to show you how to register. You put this information, they'll verify your email address, your phone number, sign up with Google or Facebook or Apple account. These are giving you, like, with this, you can easily get an idea of, okay, these are the flows or the steps to open an account, right? Or should I say to sign up? Now, once you be able to understand the information or the requirement or the data that you need to collect from your customers when signing up, it's now left for you to now draw a flow to say, Now, at first, this what you've done now is just to understand the user, right? User thinking, user experience. The next thing now is system thinking, and this is related to process flow. System thinking. You now have to think that as a system, when a customer provides this, what should the system do? Does the system need to do any validation? Does the system need to send any information? Does the system need to respond in any way? What kind of response would the system have? That is why it's best for you when you are drawing a process flow, you use a cross-functional flow chart. Because with your cross-functional flow chart, you can easily represent different entities in different pools. So you can have a system, you can have the customer. If you have a third-party system, you need to represent that third-party system effectively. And we look at the entire um, journey or user flow, as the case may be. The beautiful thing about it is that by the time you're able to get your flow diagrams correctly, it makes life easier for your product designer. Your product designer can just basically use your flow diagram to come up with a very good design, prototype the design, add whatever additional UX or that user experience he or she needs to add. Also, for your software developer, it will be easier for them to understand the flow of logic, routing of their API calls, and everything. It will be very easy. So you are more or less like making life easy for your stakeholders. You are giving them clarity. You are giving them direction. You are giving them the strategy to which they should implement what you want. Okay? So the whole essence of this session today is for us to look at how we can effectively draw process flow diagram, and we draw one, right? I've talked about things you need to put in mind before you start drawing process flow diagram. One, you need to be able to elicit requirements, either by interviews or you can have it through a workshop. Don't be shy to have interview to elicit with workshop. You can reach out to anybody within your team that you feel have a good understanding of that particular requirement. That's why you guys work in a team. That's why I put you guys in a team, not to work in silos. You can have a call with a team member just to see if they have an understanding of the requirements. Or you can elicit your requirements by observation. What do I mean by observation? You are building a bills payment app. It doesn't hurt for you to observe how bills payments is done. And by observation, it means, let's say, for instance, quick teller, right? Eliciting requirements by observation, right, would mean you trying to observe how quick teller product works, how their product works. So how do they, you try and sign up, observe the information they collect and how sign up experience is. So these are the information I need to provide for me to be able to sign up on quick teller. Then you ask yourself, do I want to collect as much information as this? These informations, are they regulatory? Are they mandatory? Which one is mandatory? Which one is optional? Right? Once you're able to ask all of these questions, then you can come up, say, these are the information I want to collect from my users to be able to create an account for them. So you can elicit through observation, observing how the system that you are benchmarking against, how it works, how users pay bills on that particular system. So you can also observe through, you can also elicit requirements through, there are several means basically. Brainstorming. You can elicit requirements through brainstorming. You can reach out to your team members and say, let's just brainstorm on this particular stuff. And people can begin to think and come up with the best way to represent that particular flow, right? Now, by the time you'll be able to brainstorm and gather the requirements and you'll be able to validate which one you, how you want to, position your requirements, the next thing for you, now then for you to start drawing your process flow. You have to go straight into drawing your process flow. And to draw your process flow, it starts with first understanding what these shapes are. So you have the flowchart shape. Understanding what these flowchart shapes are. There's a recording, right, that I've done, a class that I've done whereby I explained all of these shapes in detail. I won't spend time today to explain these shapes. So the link of the recording, I would attach it right to this video so that you guys can always refer to it and get in details the different flowchart shapes, what they represent, and when we use them. Now I'm going to draw for sign up, right? So this is the requirement here. It says RAC1 sign up with email, right? As a new user, I want to be able to select the email sign up option so that I can sign up with my email address, right? Now, let's assume that the things that we need to sign up with is email address, um, email address. Another thing is personal information, and another thing is phone number. Assuming these are the three things you want to use to sign up. So let me write them here. Let me get a text. So let me get a text. So we want to sign up. Sign up requirements. Let me just say sign up requirements. If my screen is tiny, please let me know so that I can zoom in, please. Okay?
It's tiny, Genesis.
All right.
At the same time, it's so dark. I don't know. Is it from my own end?
I'm using a dark this thing, what do they call it now? A dark background.
Oh yeah.
Let me see if I can make it white. Preferences. Okay, view should be in view. Page view. No, should be under preferences.
I think it's by the top right, where that moon shape is top right of the page.
Okay, interesting. Thank you. Someone that
Okay.
have been using diagrams.net a lot more than me. That's good. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. So, assuming our requirements are one, let me bullet this. One, sign up requirement is one, email address. Another one is phone number. Another one is personal information. Personal info. And for personal info, we are collecting full name, we are collecting date of birth, right? And then we are collecting, say, address. Now, assuming these are the information we want to collect for sign up from the user, right? To draw this stuff, we come here and search for swim lane. Oh, what am I? Swim lane. So I get my swim lane shape. Or I'll make it as big as possible. Okay. I'm gonna expand now. Let me expand this one. Yeah. Okay. Since I'm using just two lanes. Now the title is sign up with email. It's always very important you give the title of the process you are trying to model. Now, the entities involved here are the user and the app. Okay. right? So now, to start, where will the process start? The process starts with the user for sign up. And then we have the start shape. You take your start shape to indicate where the process starts. And you type starts. Let me put this in 14. Yeah. So we start, right? Now, when the user starts, it says that we need to collect email address, phone number, personal information, date of birth. Whether you collect email address first or phone number first, it doesn't matter. Do you understand? The first thing is that you need to verify the user first before you even start collecting users' personal information. So let's start with, let's say, phone number. Want to verify phone number first, right? So say this user enters phone number. Right? So you can say enter phone number or provide phone number, whichever way you want to communicate it. So enters phone number, right? Or you can say the first thing should be, first thing should be will be tap on get started. Taps on get started, enters phone number, right? When they enter phone number, next thing is for the system to validate phone number. So validates phone number. And then if you don't want to go in so much detail, you can explain what the validation should be. Yeah, is that someone's hand? Abidemi, go ahead.
So, Mr. Genesis,
Yeah.
when we're doing the last meeting that I did with the designers, there was this issue that they raised, that the requirements are not following the designs, yeah, or the designs
Okay.
are not following the requirements, vice versa.
Yeah.
Now, when like in this your stuff now, when you said user clicks on or selects the get started button or something like that. Now that particular part of that process flow, is it in the requirements? Because if it's not there, wouldn't that lead to them saying that the requirements and the designs don't match up? You know what I mean? Because
so
when I was trying to, yes, okay.
No, go ahead. I thought you were done.
Yeah, okay. So, well, because when I was like trying to write out the acceptance criteria and the requirements, when I was dishing out the acceptance criteria, they're saying all these things that are in my acceptance criteria, they are not in my requirements. How do they know that this is what they are now had to build? Because these things I'm saying are not in the requirements. So now I have
your
to
requirement is
your
acceptance criteria is your requirement as well. So you need to get that clearly. When we say requirement, user story is a requirement. Acceptance criteria is a requirement. Your process flow is a model of your requirements, right? Now, I've always said this so many times. When you are given a requirement to write, once you've written your user stories, the first thing you should be able to do is to be able to draw your process flow. With your process flow, to be easier for you to write your acceptance criteria. Very easy. Very, very easy. If you know how to draw, if you can draw your process flows very well, to write your acceptance criteria will be very easy for you. You can easily articulate your acceptance criteria. For instance, here, look at, I'm saying here that the system should perform the following checks, right? And the first check should be phone number format. And second check should be if phone number already exists. So these are the two checks that the system should perform. Let me collapse this a bit more. I want this here. Yeah. Yeah, Peter, go ahead.
Boss, you said it's a kind of validation from the system, right?
Yes.
Okay. I wouldn't know. Do I stand to be corrected? The symbol now, is it supposed to be a decision box or the rectangular box?
So don't worry, I'll get to that.
Thank you,
I'm
sir.
only saying what this is saying is that this is a task that the app should perform. So when the task performs this, when the app checks this, now we now come to the decision box that says, let me put this here. That says phone number valid. So this is where the check. So the system does this check and we'll look for what will be the outcome of this check. If the phone number is valid, right? If the phone number is valid, then system should send an OTP. Send OTP to user's phone number. Jonathan, send an OTP to the user's phone number. Let me put this here. Yeah. That's if the phone number is valid. But if the phone number is not valid, sorry, I want to get into my old habit of simply arranging things. Now, if the phone number is valid, send an OTP to the user's phone number, right? If it is not valid, notify the user to either log in, notify the user to log in. That's if the phone number does not exist. So I won't say valid. Should I say valid or so? Yeah. Phone number exists. Let me use exist instead of valid. Right? If no, but if the phone number exists, notify the user to log in. And then this process would end here because the user will need to log in. This process ends here. Oh, it's on my draw.io. So if the phone number exists, you tell the user to log in. If it doesn't exist, you send OTP to the user's email and phone number, right? Once you send the OTP, the user will then have to enter the OTP received from the app. Yes, Abidemi. Go ahead.
Sorry, Mr. Genesis, I'll come again. Are you saying we can have more than one end process?
Yes. So this terminates here because this is login, and we are not looking at login for now. So this terminates here. We are looking at sign up.
Okay.
Do you understand? So You notify and okay, let me just make it more descriptive. Notify and redirect user to login. A typical example is this, right? Let me look for a platform that I have an account on. Let's say, okay, let me create an account on this stuff. What do you call it now? Quick teller. Let me just quickly sign up. G genesis.rotechi@gmail.com. Oh, I don't want to enter my phone number. I'm looking for a platform where I don't need to enter phone number. Quick one would be someone should give me an idea of a platform I don't need to enter phone number to sign up. Or let me look for a platform I currently have an account with. I'm thinking now. But do you guys understand what I'm trying to say? I don't want to go ahead and start creating accounts on anywhere. What I'm basically trying to say is this: if the phone number exists, it means that this is a customer of ours, right? Tell that person to log in and redirect the person to the login screen. But if that phone number exists, we send an OTP to verify for the customer to verify the phone number. So customer will enter the OTP, right? And then once the customer enters OTP, the app would verify. Right? Let me put this here. Verify OTP entered by the user. So when we verify the OTP, we'll say OTP valid. If the OTP is valid, right, we'll tell the user to request user to provide email address. Or if you don't want to go into that whole, yeah, let's leave it. Request user to provide email address. Right? So, yes, it is valid. If it is not valid, don't know what's wrong with Draw.io today. It's trying to play with me. Yeah, if it is not valid, okay, if it is not valid, we'll tell the user to try again. Notify the user to enter a correct OTP. Okay? And then it takes us back to this place. And then it takes us back to this place where they will enter OTP, we validate. So I'll say no. Yeah. Now, some things that we need to put here, you can put some, we call them rules. To say OTP should expire in say 5 minutes. No, 5 minutes is too much. 2 minutes. OTP should be 6 digits. User should be able to generates new OTP. Sorry. So you have these rules that you have put here. The whole essence is that this will help you when you're actually writing your acceptance criteria. Now, once you've done this, you also do the same thing for email address. Let me. So, are you guys following what I'm doing? What I'm doing, is it making sense to you? Or you? If you have any questions, please let me know. If it's not clear,
I do
please
have
let me know.
one. I do have one.
Okay. What's the question?
So these rules that you're writing here, could we also turn them to be like the non-functional requirements?
No, it's not a non-functional requirement. Rules are actually requirements.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Okay.
So, we have acceptance criteria.
Yeah.
If you listen to the class that we've had, we have what we call we have acceptance requirements. Sorry, acceptance criteria. Okay. And in acceptance criteria, there are basically two types of acceptance criteria. Can you remind me if you still remember?
Is it the
Based
given
on
that?
getting symptoms.
The happy path and the non-happy path.
No. So the two
Is it
types
rule
of
based on
acceptance,
getting symptoms?
yes, that is the two
Okay.
types of acceptance criteria that we have.
Could you say that again?
Rule based on getting syntax.
The rule-based acceptance criteria. So I'll type it here. We have the rule-based, and scenario-based. Scenario-based is what we call as Gherkin syntax. These are the two types of acceptance criteria we have. When you are writing your use case specification, you make use of rule-based. That's why your use case specification, you have what we call business rules. But when you are writing your user stories, it's best you go with your Gherkin syntax, which is the given that a scenario is in play, when an action is performed, then this outcome should result, or this should be the outcome. So it's called scenario based. You give a scenario when writing the acceptance criteria. Those are the two types of acceptance criteria we have. Okay? Rule based and scenario based. You can write your rule based in your to complement your user stories. There's no problem. The fact is that your user story must have an acceptance criteria to accompany it. Whether you adopt the rule-based method or you adopt the Gherkin syntax method, that is no problem. Exactly. So your acceptance criteria is a requirement, is a functional requirement, and is not a non-functional requirement. It's a functional requirement. So because we will most likely be doing the same thing, that's why I repeated this. So whenever I say phone number, I'll change it to email. Email address, verify email address, validate, email address. So email formats, if email exists, I should do the following checks. So does email exist? Yeah. Who wants to talk? Tell them to log
You've
in.
already addressed it.
Sorry?
No, you've already addressed what I was going to mention. That's fine. All right.
Okay. So yeah. So that is it. And that's because why I just replicated is that we are doing the same OTP check, right? But it's for email address. And if the email address already exists, you understand? And why we need to do that check on both email and phone number, or why I'm doing the check on both email and phone number is because you might see someone trying to come and sign up. Let's say I have an account with genesis.rotechi@gmail.com and I use a phone number of 0703967267 when creating my account. Now, I want to now create another account, maybe in the future. I forgot that I have an account with these guys. And I'm using a secondary phone number of mine. Maybe I use 080 now instead of 070, 08039672677. The system will send me an OTP to verify that phone number, which I will provide the OTP for that phone number. But by the time I now provide my email address, genesis.rotechi@gmail.com, system need to validate to say, does this email address exist for a customer or my DB? If my email address exists, the system will tell me, hey, come on, guys, your email address already exists. You have an account with us. Please go ahead and sign in with your email address. If you don't know your password, or if you can't remember your password, simply use forgot password to retrieve your password. Are you guys following the flow of things now? Or am I making sense? Chiamaka, Sarah, I've not heard from both of you since I've started talking.
Yes, I'm following them.
Okay.
I'm here.
All right. So this basically is the flow. This side, what is happening here basically is that you are doing system thinking. This side that represents the app or the system. You are doing system thinking. What should the system do? How should the system respond or react? And on this side that speaks to the user, you are saying, how would the user want to use, what would the user do when the system reacts this way? When the user wants to do this, how should they do it? Right? By the time you are able to articulate this, okay, the next thing for you will now be, so instead of phone number, it will be personal information. Sorry. Personal information. Right. Now, additional checks will be done. And again, it all depends on what you are building. If you are building a financial solution, you need to verify the user's address, right? Address verification needs to be done. If you're just building a product that you don't need to verify the user's address, then there's no problem. A good example is this. Chiamaka and Juwon, people want to build a telemedicine product, right? Whereby we need to understand the user's location. We need to be able to understand their location so that recommendations in terms of closest healthcare provider or consultant will be made in precision to that user. It won't hurt if you tell the user to enter their exact location, right? So that if they want to verify, if they are trying to search for healthcare service, we can come up with recommendations within or closest to where they live, right? But if you're just building an application that address does not matter, then you don't need to bother yourself. Same thing if you are building a financial solution, it will be important for you to insist on users to enter their full legal name. That is their full first name, their legal first name, their legal last name. Right? And that is because in the long run, you want to do identity verification with their ID card, maybe NIN or driver's license or passport or residence permit card, whichever one it is. So it is very important for you to know what context am I building, what industry, and that will help you to know what are the requirements. Like I mentioned in the fintech, if you see what Monzo will tell you to either collect your passports or your national ID or your driver's license. It means that along the line in your onboarding, you need to see how to incorporate this since it's a financial solution. But if it's not a financial solution, you don't need anybody's passport or national ID or driver's license. You don't. Okay? So let's proceed. So you request user to provide personal information, Bring this here. You want to see the way I'm getting the arrows, right? To get the arrow, just hover here. You see this arrow come up, and then you select the shape. It will automatically link the shapes together with the arrow. So request user to provide personal information. I don't want to go into a lot of nitty-gritties, but on your own, go through the nitty-gritties of saying provide first name, provide last name, provide address. This thing. I just say provide personal information. Right? Now, when user provides this personal information, then the next thing you have to do is to create a password. Okay. Create a password. Now, in creating that password, it depends. You want to validate if the password format is correct. Validate if password format is correct. Sometimes you don't need to bother yourself, and again, it all depends on the kind of product you are building, right? If you are building a product that you want to create, that you want security to be very tight, then you need to make sure you specify the format of the password format you want users to create. But if you're just building a product that you're not so concerned about it, then you don't need to bother yourself about the password format. Example is, if you are building a fintech product, then a lot of combinations need to come in play for users to create password. I might say for them to provide first name. I mean, the password must be alphanumeric with a special character, minimum of this, maximum of this. No, you are very specific. But if it is not a financial solution, or if it is not a health-related solution, right, you can just tell the user, password should be minimum 6 characters. And let them create whatever 6-character password they want to create. Okay? So they validate formats. Okay. Check if the format is okay. If it is not, you notify user to use correct formats. What's wrong with my typing today? To use correct formats. And then it goes back to this create password. Now, you can come here and add more context to what you are doing. And what is that context? You say, remove bullet points. User should enter new password and confirm the password. That is for this. For this one, you can also come here and provide more information and say personal information required should be first name, last name, date of birth, address.
Sorry, Mr. Genesis.
Yeah, go ahead. Just call me
So for
Genesis.
the-
I've said it several times. I don't know why people are putting Mr.
So for the password, create password, do we have to put all this information like password should not be alphanumeric, blah blah blah, those kind of
So
things
those words can
in-
come in your acceptance criteria.
Okay, so they don't have to complete.
Yes, in your process flow, avoid putting so many descriptive notes. Put as minimal. If you say
Okay.
I'm putting as minimal as possible, and that is where
Yeah.
if I don't want to go into like here now, I'm not going into detail of enter first name, enter last name, enter date of select choose date of birth, enter address. No, I just say provide personal information, and I list out what personal information will be. Is when I now go to my acceptance criteria, I'll now write all of those things in details.
Okay.
Do you get me now? I'll now write
Yeah.
all of those things in details. Now, once you've created password and password format is okay. So yeah, I'll say no when it is not okay. If it is okay, the next thing I want to do will be to send a welcome mail to the user. It means that the user have completed their onboarding. Onboarding, which is account creation. Send a welcome mail to user. The next thing will be to redirect the user to the home page. If it is home page, you want to use your own for, or dashboard if you want to call it dashboard. So let me just use home page. So you direct the user to the home page, and then it shouldn't be this shape. And then the process ends. So the sign up process actually ends at this point. Okay. Connect this big guy. Yeah. So in a nutshell, this is my sign up flow. So let's take a look at, let me know if anyone have any question. Juan, Peter, Abidemi, Chiamaka, please ask questions. Yeah, let's start with Peter first. Then everybody's going to ask questions. So Peter, Abidemi, then Chiamaka, Juan, and Sarah. Yeah, go ahead.
Please, can you zoom that? Can you zoom it out a little bit?
Which one?
Yes. Okay, yes, here. Now, where you have notified the user to enter the correct OTP, I think the arrow there is directionless, or is it okay like that?
Yeah.
Because this
So the
arrow
direction
now,
of the arrow, say the arrow, let me click on the arrow. Where is it coming
that's
from?
one thing.
It's
Where is
coming
it coming
from
from?
here.
Where is it going?
So how do you know where it's coming from, how it's going from? The arrowhead shows you where you are going to. So an arrow has a head and a tail. The tail is where it's coming from. The head is where it's going to. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Now, let me click on this and let's know where the tail is. Where is the tail for this arrow? Here, right?
Yes. Yes.
Where is the head? See, it's pointing here. If I take
Okay.
this thing and move it away from here now, have you seen the head now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the head is actually pointing back to this. They entered an incorrect OTP. You tell them to enter the correct one. Then you point them back to this place where they need to enter a correct OTP.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then on the create password, create enter username or something like that. Just
Username,
no.
personal information.
Create password.
Okay, create
And
password.
confirm password. Yes. Now,
Yes.
is it out of place? Is it out of place to have the two boxes, the two rectangular boxes? Like to create. No. First, let me stable it more.
I'm coming. I know what you're trying to say. Let me help you there. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Don't worry. Let me help you. Let me put it for your sake. Okay. Don't worry. Let me put it for your sake. It's not out of place.
Okay.
I'm the one that chose to have it that way. It's not out of place. I did this way and I explained here that this should be what should go in here. But what I did, I just yeah. I wanted to delete this young man. Yeah. Let me put this on. Stop this. Okay. Confirm password. All right.
Yeah.
Are you okay now?
Yeah,
Are you
it's
happy?
okay. I'm fine. I just wanted to confirm, that's just.
Yes, you are absolutely correct. Remember what I said, right? Here now, there are so many tasks or process involved here. You enter first name, last name, date of birth, address, right?
Yeah.
So I said I don't want to go ahead and be drawing boxes to say enter first name, enter last name, enter select date of birth, enter address. Address will be city. This I felt okay. Let me make it simplified. I put that information here that they should provide personal information, and this should be what the personal information should entail. In my
Yeah.
acceptance criteria, I'll have to be more detailed to explain this. In my acceptance criteria, I have to be more detailed to explain password formats. I have to be more detailed to explain what should happen to this confirm password button. Confirm password field. Are you following me now?
Yes, boss. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. So, yeah. Abidemi.
Okay, boss. Two questions. So the first one is, what about scenarios where we have to, where we have sub processes?
Sub processes. So we have a sub process shape, which is this. How you represent your sub process depends. A good example of, or one way to represent a sub process, right, is this. That's where I say, here's a play that I have end before. The play that I had end initially. Here. So here I say notify user to log in. Login could be a sub process in this sign up with email process. Are you following me? Another one could be, a sub process could be, for instance, this provide personal information. Yes, that is a good example. This provide personal information that I put here, there are so many processes involved in providing personal information, and I don't want to capture all of those processes. I can replace this with a sub process. Easily replace it with a sub process. So a sub process is basically a process inside. How will I put it? List of processes inside a process. So I can say provide personal. What's on my typing? Information. And then these are processes, right? Enter first name, last name. These are processes. So I use a sub process shape to represent them. That is a very typical way to use your sub processes.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other question?
The second question is, so I was part of the project, but it's not an agile project. It was a waterfall project. And
Okay.
now on that project, the way the more experienced BA than me put out the process flow diagram was so large that it took a whole A3 sheet of paper
Yeah.
to see all the processes.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering that this is a more simplified form, but what about if when you get to a project where they tell you that they give you a document like about 5 pages, 10 pages, and the whole process of the flow of the whole company is there.
Yeah.
Do you break them down into smaller processes, or do you do the whole process diagram for the whole 10 documents in one process flow diagram, like the way you did here?
Okay. Brilliant. So it's possible. And let me give a bit more detail, right? Now, the whole essence of what I'm drawing here is I'm looking at this process feature by feature. Do you understand? Let me show you something. Yeah, let me show you something. So I'm trying to revamp so many things in my place of work. So I'm trying to draw process. I'm coming up with this is a process flow diagram that I drew, I think sometime last week. Yeah. So you see this now. This is splash screen, right? New user will start with their sign up, right? Now, by the time I show you this design, now, if I invite you to this my board, this is my personal board, right? If I invite you to this board, let's say by this time next week, you will see something looking so large. What do I mean? You can draw your process flow diagram to represent just a single feature or just a single unit in an organization. Do you understand? Or you can draw it to represent every bit of information in an entire organization. Now, for that one, that's what we call end-to-end organizational process. And to draw something like that, it's best to use what we call BPMN, Business Process Modeling and Notation. It's best to use a business process modeling and notation to draw that. It's something that could take up to almost 5 or 6 pages. There you are going as much detail. For instance, now this is, see this consumer review project. Now, look at the different features. Sign up with email, sign up with Google, log in with email. I can draw just one single process flow diagram that covers every feature that you see here. Every feature, view categories, like every single feature for this product, I can draw it. Drawing it is not something that I'll sit and do in 30 minutes or 20 minutes. It's something that can take me a week or more to go through every single process, every single stage. Are you following me now? The beautiful thing about software is that we try to take it in piecemeal, bit by bit, bit by bit. When you're drawing it feature by feature. But if you want to draw the entire flow of the system, I bet you it could be as long as, say, from here, going all the way down to like this. Because you make sure that you cater for every single flow, every single feature, every single activity or task. So yes, process flow diagrams happen that way. It all depends on the detail of communication you are making and the scope of what you are trying to communicate or what you are trying to model. If the scope is large, then your diagram will be very large. If the scope is small, like a simple singular feature, then your diagram will be very small.
So are you saying that in that kind of situation, even for an agile project, it could be the same kind of situation you could face? Because I was told that time when doing that time, I may be asked to draw a process flow diagram like this, and I was like, in all my training, I've never seen a process flow diagram that is as big as that. I was scared shitless, to be honest. I was really scared, like, how do I draw a whole A3 sheet of paper worth of the whole, because the lady put engineering, there was finance, there was engineering, there was rolling,
it's an end-to-end process.
I was like,
end-to-end business process. So it's a business process, like I said, right? You're expected to draw a business process. And the truth is, the secret to drawing a business process is simple. Break it down. There's something I always say to you guys in class. You can't eat an elephant in one go. at a go. You can agree with me. Even a full-fledged goat, no matter how good, how much you like asun, that is goat meat, you can't finish a full goat in one meal, even in a day. But by the time you're able to break it down in piecemeals, you understand them and you're able to digest it. If you understand in piecemeals what the finance team are going to do in this process, in piecemeal, what the engineering team will do at every instance, in piecemeal, what the product team will do, in piecemeal, what the business team or marketing team will do. Once you're able to understand that, you can bring everything and fit it together. So when you see something as overwhelming as that, try to break it down to piecemeal. You can't add it will scare you off when you look at it from that, big standpoint. Try to break it down into piecemeals. Into piecemeal. If you bring all of the drawings that you've drawn so far in your project and you piece them together, you add them together, you realize that you've drawn up to almost 2 pages or 3 pages worth of flow diagram. If you add everything you've drawn for write review, read review, edit review, you draw for sign up, you draw for login. By the time you bring all these things and join them appropriately where they need to be joined, you realize that what you've drawn so far in this project is almost like 3 pages of three worksheet or 3 pages of a diagram. But you're able to enjoy what you're doing because you're doing it in piecemeal. That's the essence of Agile. You're doing it in piecemeal. So if you can break down the work in piecemeals, little by little bits and bobs, right? You understand what happens in this side, in this unit, in this department, in this specific flow, in this specific activity. And then you draw them like that. You can easily link and join them and say, where does this interface with this? Where does this connect with this? From here, how do I connect to this other place? And before you know, by the time you do all of those connections for the different units or piecemeals that you've drawn, you see you almost have even more than 6 pages. Is that okay? Does that help you?
Yes, definitely. Yes. Thanks so much.
Welcome. Jun, okay, I wanted to even call your name. Go ahead, Jun.
Okay, so I just wanted to ask, this is the sign up with email process flow, but can I ask why we started with sign up with phone number? Why we started with phone number? Is there any particular reason? It doesn't really seem relevant to me.
Okay, so remember when I started, I said it all depends on the requirement you want to collect. Okay, you can choose to say if the requirement is that I only want to verify phone number, I won't verify email, or I only want to verify email address, I won't verify phone number. It all depends on the requirements you are working with, right? Secondly, why did I start with phone number and not email address? It's not cast in stone. You can start with email address to verify it and then later verify phone number. It is not cast in stone. Do you get me? So it's not cast in stone. Whether it is phone number or it is email address, it's all based on the requirements you're able to gather. Do you get? Sorry, give me 1 minute.
Okay,
Yeah. I'm coming. I'm almost done. I'm almost coming. Thank you. Yeah. All right. Is that clear? Or do you want me to take it again? John?
Yes, it's clear, but can we have either or situation? Can we either verify with phone number or verify with email, or do we need to do both? Like for this consumer review app, do we really need to verify both phone number and email?
So this is not phone number does not even come into consumer review. Consumer review is just email address, personal information. You verify email address, enter personal information, set up password, and you go. I just introduced phone number myself. That's why I said this is a requirement I want to work with. Email address, phone number, personal info. Are you following me now?
Yes, I understand.
So I just came up with a sample requirement. And as I said, it depends on the requirements you have elicited. If in the industry, the best practice is that you must verify someone's phone number and also verify their email address before you give them accounts, then you need to do it. That's what we call it. We call such things as compliance. For instance, now in Nigeria, before you can open an account today, you need to have a valid NIN, right? So if you are designing the onboarding journey for any digital bank in Nigeria, NIN verification must be part of the requirements you must incorporate. Are you clear now? So it depends on the requirements you are basically working with. That's why it's important to first elicit that requirement. Do your elicitation. Interviews or surveys or benchmarking or research or observation or brainstorming or workshop, whichever way. Elicit your requirements, right? And then use that requirement to now draw out your process. By the time you're able to draw this process flow, and then you now get into your acceptance criteria, you can now start looking at, let's say, for instance, now, because okay, let's start with this get started button. What should be the acceptance criteria for this get started button? A typical one would be given that the user taps on the get start, given that the user is on the splash screen or the user is on the landing page, right? When the user taps on get started or user taps on sign up, this could be get started or sign up or create account or register, whichever name you want to call the button. When the user taps on get started, then the app should direct the user to the page where the user will provide their phone number. So you've covered the acceptance criteria for this. You come here and say, okay, what should be the acceptance criteria in entering phone number? Given that the user is on the sign up page or get started page or create account page, when the user enters a phone number, then the system should validate if that phone number, to check if that phone number is valid, which is what is happening here. Then list out the various checks that needs to be done. Now, you come here and say, given that this, you can come and create an acceptance criteria to say, given that the phone number the system have validated the phone number, blah, 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 blah. Or you say, this should be the format. If the phone number exists, tell the user to sign up. So you say, given that this user has provided phone number, when the system validates the phone number and confirms that the phone number already exists, then the system or the app should notify the user to log in. And the login page, the user should be redirected to the login page. You've catered for this. So also still on this, you see, given that the user have entered a phone number and the system has validated, when the system validates and the phone number does not exist, then the system should send an OTP to the user's phone number for verification. Then it brings you to this. With this, you'll be able to cater for every bit of acceptance criteria required that is necessary for your requirements. Step by step, you're considering this, and considering every bit of it. That will be the best way for you to actually capture your requirements effectively. Shamaka, please unmute and ask a question.
Honestly, I don't really have any questions. I don't have any questions, but like I think I understood what you did. But you said you're going to teach us what each shape means.
Yes. So for each shape, What they mean, I have another video where I explain everything in detail. The video is on Slack. If you go to the Slack channel and you go to the projects on Slack, right, you will see the video. So let me show you. If you come to knowledge base, right, when you come to knowledge base and you scroll up, oh, can you open your Slack? When you come to knowledge base and you scroll up, you see process modeling. You see the video I prepared for process modeling there. The link on YouTube is there. So you basically use that video and you get every bit of information you need on what each shape represents. Okay? But more like a very quick intro. This is a start shape. This is a process shape. This is the decision shape. Right? So that shape do I have? Just those two. Then these arrows are the direction of flow. But once you watch that video, I went into details about the shapes, what they are, how to represent them, what they mean. Like this now, this is a sub process, this shape. So these are all the shapes here. And you can use the name of the app is diagram.net. We have draw.io, diagram.net. We have Miro, we have Lucy charts. What have you? Just name it. We have Visio, which is a grandfather of all flow diagrams. Modeling tools. We have Visio. Let me reduce this since I have some space. Yeah.
That your personal workflow that you just showed us, is that Visio?
Yes. No. That is Miro. This is Miro.
Okay.
Yeah. This is Miro. For instance, now this is FS
Mind
conversion
mapping.
flow. So if you look at this from login, you can go through here. This one is complex, basically. I don't want people to bother yourself about it. First, understand these basic ones, right? At least understand this basic one, how to draw it on draw.io before you even bother yourself about Miro. What I'm doing here on Miro. So
This
first,
is the kind of document that we are talking about.
so first understand what is happening on what I did on diagram.net. If you can understand this, it's a process. If you can understand this and replicate it very well, as you guys progress, the time will come that I will need people to start drawing a more professional flow diagram as this.
Hey, well,
You don't need to be scared. There's nothing difficult in this. It's actually very simple. All you need is the same logic. All you need is just to understand how it should flow. There's nothing difficult in it. So you don't have to be scared of or anything. It's the same logic. But as it always goes, in calculus, when we do calculus those days in school, they'll say starting from the first principle or using the first principle, right? Or in chemistry, they'll say having knowledge of what an atom is, what a molecule is, what an element is, because those things are very important for you. You can, if you understand how atoms, elements, and molecules, interact and what a chemical reaction is, you can draw it. You should be able to, communicate or interact on anything that has to do with chemistry, right? Same thing with biology, things like cell and what have you. All right. Sarah, over to you. And do you have any question?
Sorry.
Sorry, my network broke for me.
Sorry?
So my name you mentioned, sorry, as I lost you for a minute, for a bit. So I thought you mentioned my name.
Yeah, I'm asking if you have any question. Because you need to have a
No,
question.
I actually understand. The only question I have is about the sub process and what conditions. Like, I'm not really clear on the sub process, like how to know when to apply it or something like that.
Okay, thank you. So for this sub process, you see here, part of the flow is that user will need to enter first name, right? Enter last name, enter date of birth, enter address, isn't it? These are different processes in our process flow diagram. In this same sign up process, user need to enter all of these things to sign up. Now, I don't want to bother myself representing them in single shapes. I'll come here and say, enter first name, enter last name. I'll draw another one, enter select date of birth, another one, enter address. Then I'll come and represent this create password, confirm password. I don't want to make it so long. So I kind of put them, since they are a process that is unique to each other, they are all unique or they all relate to personal information. So I lump them into one and say this is a sub process for personal information. And these are the details we should collect.
Okay, that's clear now.
Do you understand? I'm trying to look
Thank
for
you. Yes,
a
yes.
much more relatable analogy to give. So let's say, for instance, now, you can hear me. So let's say, for instance, you are trying to package um you're trying to package things. And this is what I love to do this. That's why I'm giving an example. It's part of this I love to do in the home, right? So sometimes I go to the kitchen and I like arranging the kitchen a lot. If I enter the kitchen, I say the kitchen is not arranged. I just love arranging kitchens, right? And what I do is that there are several cupboards in the kitchen, right? Um, put the place where the place is to be. Things like let me say for instance now, even though we have plates, right? Some plates could be plastic, some could be metallic, some could be ceramic, right? Some could be glassy as well, glass, right? So the ones that are delicate, since they are delicate, put them in one place. The ones that are not delicate, put them in a specific place. So personal information, first name, last name, date of birth, address, they are personal information to that particular user. And I don't want to represent them in different shapes. I just put them in one bucket, which is a sub process, and say provide personal information. Do you get it now? Or is it more clear?
Yeah. Yes, it is. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Okay, so that is it. Basically, that is it. I'm going to share the recording with you guys once we are done with this call. I'll try and upload it and then get the link and share with everyone. Okay? So let me stop recording now. We are good.